So if you're not entirely done reading through this, that's fine. This is yours, and you can read through it later on in a little more depth. I just wanted to kind of hit on some of the highlights here. First off, we're going to look at today is how to pay for college without student loans. Now, I know that several of you, when I had you fill out the survey and stuff, I got a lot of answers as far as what your future plans are after high school. And college may not be one that you that you listed either because it's not necessary or because for some reason you don't think that you could go to one. When I was growing up, the conventional wisdom was you got to go to college, you got to get a 4-year degree at a 4-year university, and you got to, do this or that, or employers aren't even going to look at you. And college, in my opinion, kind of got overemphasized in the last generation or so, because there are a ton of really good paying, satisfying jobs that can be had without a college degree. I mean, you look at there, and I think one of the things they list on here is something like trade schools. I mean, there are a lot of skilled labor positions that are hurting for people to work on. You guys have any idea how much plumbers make? It is ridiculous. I mean, they bill like, a couple $100 an hour. And they
and carpentry,
carpentry, electrician work, mechanic work. If you enjoy working with your hands, there is no reason why you can't get certified in something like that. And I mean, the world's your oyster. And I say, God bless. We need more quality tradespeople. But let's say that you do have college on your horizon, and you're thinking, okay, it's going to be expensive because college is expensive. Okay. I'm hoping that many of you took advantage of the interview day last week to get in and talk to some people, and I'm hoping that this coming Wednesday, as a result of that, they're going to be throwing large piles of cash at you, which is always nice when that happens. But even if you haven't been applying for scholarships, it's not too late to look. Okay? There are people out there who want to give you money to go to school for the most ridiculous reasons. I had a student maybe 15 years ago. Her last name was Gatlin, and she found a company that wanted to give her a couple $1,000s a semester because her last name was Gatlin. Okay, this was the Gatling Corporation, the ones who invented the Gatling gun. Okay, and anyone whose last name was Gatling or Gatlin or something close to that could apply for this thing, and they were going to throw money at it, no questions asked.
So I legally changed my last name.
Somebody asked about that this morning. I'm pretty sure it's probably too late for that, but who knows? I don't know if the cost of that would, balance out. But so, when you're looking right here, college is pricing. Now, obviously, if you're going to do college, the cheapest option is community college. Okay, a 2-year school, you get yourself a 2-year degree, you go do something with that. But even if you don't go for an associate's degree, if you are looking to get like a classic bachelor's degree or move on and get a master's, doctorate, whatever, the basics that you're going to need to take at a 4-year university are pretty much identical to basics that you would be taking at a 2-year school. Frank is a great community college. Another really great community college in our area is Amarillo. But then, okay, so is South Plains College a community college out of Lubbock? Okay, I mean that's another option. I'm sure there are. Clarendon College is also nearby. Know a lady who works out there. I'm sure Oklahoma has got several. Down around Dallas area, I'm sure you're going to be able to find several. But you can shop around and you can look for more affordable ways to go to college. Student loans is typically, your absolute last resort. And if you can manage to not borrow money to go to college, you're going to be so much better off. And so discounting scholarships, which is huge. Everybody in here at this point, okay, I'm not sure about Mason. Have you done a Fafsa? Do you have to do a Fafsa? Okay, all right. So you want to tell Mason about the Fafsa?
Fill it out next year, the date, like October 1st, fill it out.
Basically, it's the free application for federal student aid, and you fill this thing out. You tell them everything about your entire family's life story. You submit blood samples, hair samples, saliva, whatever. Maybe not so much. It's just numbers mostly, and then basically they tell you how much you are eligible for as far as federal funding goes. As far as federal funding goes, one of the best things that can happen is you can be eligible for what's called a Pell Grant. Okay? A federal Pell Grant is money the government gives to you that you do not have to pay back, that you can use to pay for college. I was eligible for a Pell Grant right after I got married, because at the point that I got married, I had a year of college left, and my wife and I were dirt poor starting out. Before that, my parents made too much money in order for me to be eligible for that kind of thing, and so I wasn't, okay? But, you know, people's economic conditions change, so if you do have major economic condition changes, you know, keep applying, and even if you don't get accepted, like it said in there, by federal agencies, there are state scholarship agencies that can help you find stuff. What did you think about some of the stats that they're citing here about student loans?
Kind of depressing.
How would you like to go to school for the next 4 years, and day one, as soon as you graduate, before you can even get a job, you're already, you know, average of $35,000 in the hole? That hurts. That hurts a lot. And that's average. I mean, folks have even more. You know, folks who pay for like medical school, good Lord, that is pricey stuff. And it takes anywhere from 10 to 30 years to repay those. That's awful. That's like indentured servitude, y'all. And again, getting back to my wife and I, of course, like I told you, when I first started out, I had, you know, a scholarship that paid for a good chunk of my schooling that I managed to lose part of because I was a doofus in my first year of college. And so then, you know, I had to find ways to help pay for it myself. I worked some during the summers. My parents kicked in some. When I graduated, I did not personally, on me, have a large degree of student loans. My wife, when she graduated about a year before I did. I think she had somewhere on the order of $15,000 to $20,000 in loan debt. And she and I decided, after I graduated and got out, and we had to start paying these back, that we wanted to pay them off as quickly as possible. And so since both of us were working as teachers, you know, starting teachers weren't making a lot of money, but it was just the two of us, you know, we decided what we were going to do is we were going to try and live off of just one person's paycheck. We budgeted very tightly so that we could manage to, you know, get by everything we needed on just one, and put the second paycheck completely and totally into trying to pay down our student loans. Having done that, it still took us about 3 years. And we got it paid off just a few months before we found out that we were going to have a job. So, you know, I was very, you know, I felt very blessed that, you know, we took care of that before he got here, because when the kid came along, there was a whole lot of new debts that came along with it. A lot of medical bills, okay? And then we went from having 2 paychecks to just having 1, and that made things even, you know, a little tighter. But anyway, you know, I like some of the suggestions that they have in here. Main one that they talk about on there, you know, paying cash for your degree. If you've got parents that have been saving up something to help you along with school, that's awesome. If you don't, like my child does not, okay? Yeah, I mean, there's still quite a bit of, you know, things out there. Okay, there's the Fafsa. Picking out an affordable school. How many of you guys know that not every college at any given level costs the same?
Yeah.
Probably some of the most expensive colleges are going to be like your Ivy League schools, your Harvards, your Yales, your Princetons, things like that. And, you know, I think I've known on maybe, I can count on one hand the number of students over 22 years that I have known who have gone to Harvard or Yale or, where did those go? I had one of them go to Notre Dame. I mean, you know, and that's great. They also got crap loads of scholarships to do that.
One of the things we learned in economics, we were comparing different colleges and different like scholarship stuff. The Ivy League, like Harvard, if you were like 20, if your house income's like 20,000, after scholarships, they end up paying you like $100.
That's cool. I mean, but you got to get scholarships first,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a competitive case. Probably beyond that, your most expensive institutions are going to be your private four-year institutions. I don't recommend going to those unless they either scholarship the heck out of you or if you're loaded. The school that my wife and I went to was a private four-year school, and it was expensive. It was probably the cheapest of four-year private schools in the area, but still, it costs a lot of money, especially when you look at the fact that, a lot of those credits, a lot of the stuff I took as a freshman and a sophomore, you're taking algebra, you're taking college biology 1401, you're taking, you know, composition and rhetoric, English, 1301 or whatever. That's going to be almost the same kind of stuff you can get at a community school.
It's kind of like what some of the classes we're taking right now.
Exactly. And y'all are even saving money right now by doing them at a reduced rate, where you have had the opportunity to do so. And so you're going to have some credit that's going to transfer wherever in the state you want to transfer to, and even some places out of state. Okay? And, like they point out in here, employers really don't worry too much about where you got your credit from. They're looking to see that you got the piece of paper, that you put in the time and the energy and the effort to get the bachelor's or the master's or whatever. They're not going to read the fine print as far as where it came. They don't care. Okay? They're just worried that you did it. So if you can do it for cheaper, do it for cheaper. Go to Frank for a couple years. Go to AC for a couple years. Consider your options. Transfer somewhere else. West Texas A&M, they talked about going to a directional school. That's what the West in the West Texas A&M comes from. Okay, because regional schools, North Texas, such and such, or there's lots of little like directional schools in the Dallas area and all over the place, and those tend to be a little bit cheaper than the bigger name Division I schools out there. Excuse me. Some of the other things.
I did not know that when this said directional schools, it actually had something to do with actual direction.
Yeah.
That's
It took me a while. I'm like, what's the directional school? And I'm like, that makes sense. Of course, I already mentioned trade schools. That is a great. I've heard of several people through the years who, what they have done is they started working in high school and then through high school and then on into like 2-year degree school. They got like a 2-year degree in cosmetology or something. They could then turn around and they had a certification to work a job where they could earn a decent wage, have flexible hours, and then start socking that money away into further school. And that's a great option.
I know I qualified for like work study, and that's a big thing.
Work study is a big thing. I'm glad that came up too. We'll skip down. Take a look at number 9. Work during school. I thought this was interesting, and this is something that I really wish I would have known. Again, my parents, who were great people, and they made mistakes. But by the way, time out. I forgot to give this disclaimer yesterday. I gave it during second hour. How many of you know that your parents / guardians / grandparents / whoever, they are not perfect people? Anybody besides me? Okay. How many of you know that for the most part they are doing the best they can? They have the best intentions. They don't always make great choices because they're human beings. Okay. Anything that I'm saying here, I am not meaning any kind of condemnation or any kind of disrespect for anything that your parents have or are doing. Okay. But I think you could also probably look at any set of those guardians and you could say, would you like things to be a little bit better for your kids? And I'm pretty sure across the board they'd be like, yeah, absolutely. If I could make things a little bit easier on the kids, I'd like to. My parents told me when I went off to college, they're like, okay, your job is to go to school. We don't want you getting a job and working while you're in college. I didn't know any better, and I said, okay. And I really didn't appreciate my first 3 to 4 years of school because I wasn't really having to work at it. I went to class, I slept. I stayed up way too late playing video games, I missed class. I went to some classes, I passed some tests, I forgot to turn in some projects. I almost flunked out. But if I had had something maybe, the whole thing about work here, if you're having to work to help pay for it, I guarantee you're going to appreciate it more. Okay, I did some studying post-grad after I had been teaching for a while. I appreciated it so much more, just because A, I was chipping in, and B, because I kind of knew, what stuff I was actually going to need because I'd been in the classroom for a couple of years. But I wish that I had worked. My first year, I didn't. My second year and third year, and my wife also, about the same time, when she was a sophomore, when she was a junior and senior, not when I was a sophomore and junior, we did apply for and we got hired on to work as residence hall assistants, meaning that we lived in a dorm, and we were RAs. Basically, while we were living there, we got part of our room fee taken care of, which was great. We were given 10 to 20 hours a week in the dorm lobby where we basically sat around and answered the phone, made sure that nobody was sneaking girls upstairs. Every once in a while we'd have to go do room checks and make sure nobody was hooking up in the bathroom, stuff like that. And we got paid for it. And that was nice. There were very few of those positions on campus, and we were very lucky to have gotten them when we did. After I got married, I was suddenly eligible for work study. And so I got a work study job working over in the office of the Dean of Students. Basically just doing office work, answering the phone, working on schedules, reworking small documents, cleaning out, old records, stuff like that. My wife worked for a period of time on campus at the university switchboard, where she was literally the person when you called Wayland University, she'd pick up the phone, she'd be, "Good afternoon, Wayland Baptist University," and then she'd listen to where you wanted, she'd say, "Just one moment," she'd tell the extension and hang up. Ring, "Good afternoon, Wayland Baptist University." Just one moment. She sounded just like that, you can ask her. She totally did. I mean, she had downloaded that.
Did she do
You check.
the waiting music too?
I don't know that they had the waiting music. This is pretty
The
low
waiting
tech
music
back then.
is the worst.
I mean, she still had buttons she had to hit, like things to change things with. But anyway, and I did, as I was doing those things, I did very much appreciate, A, that they kind of gave me something to do with some of the amounts of time that I had, because there's going to be large chunks of time you've got during college, and you're just going to be like, what do I do? Because I'm broke and I don't have any money to do stuff with money, but I've got all this time. What do I do? You find a job. You work a few nights a week delivering pizzas. Guys, this one I think it's kind of cliched, but if you can get on as like a pizza delivery driver, you can pick up, $100 or $200 a night in tips. And it's just working a few hours. If you like getting out and driving and talking to people and doing pizza.
Some jobs give scholarships too.
That's it.
So McDonald's, you can get up to $2,500 one.
Very true. Very true. It was pointed out this morning by Veronica. She said that, let's say that you get hired on by some company and they want you to get additional training or additional degrees, they'll pay for you to go back to school, and work toward that degree. And that happened with her dad. I like here where it talks about, having a side business. Guys, y'all live in, exactly. You live in a day and age when the sky is the limit. The world is your oyster. Pick the metaphor you want. I don't even care. If you've got a hobby, if you are good at arting, if you can screen print T-shirts, if you can make XYZ things out of whatever the heck, you can get an Etsy. You can sell them. You can pull in some cash. Okay. There are people out there who want to buy your talent, whatever that talent might be. Do a little bit of looking around. Start Googling. Can I get paid to whatever it is that you enjoy doing? Fiverr, and just look around.
Fiverr doesn't get dressed up, get paid to dress up as Jesus and just hit quotes.
Huh.
Or Santa.
Oh, what's
No, seriously.
Just kind of anything.
Yeah. If you're good at something, somebody's going to want to pay you money for it. That's awesome. This one down here I think is pretty big because, if you do go to college, a pretty big expense in there is living on campus. Now, a lot of colleges will tell you, either for freshmen or for all undergraduate students, they quote unquote require you to live on campus. That is crap. If you run into a school that says, "Oh, you're a freshman, you have to live on campus, you have to live in dorms, you have to buy a meal plan," go to school somewhere else. I'm serious, because that's just ridiculous. if you don't mind, and if your parents don't mind you, kind of crashing off them for another couple of years, so long as you are working your tail off and working a job and going to Frank or whatever, do that and sock away the money for whenever you get beyond that. You know, really read the fine print on things. And if you go to a college in some town and they're like, well, you have to live on campus, read the fine print and say, well, what if I have an address in your town? Rule of us, there might be some loopholes to come through. You have a family member who lives in XYZ town, see if they will let you list them as a legal address.
Mr. King.
Yeah.
So I know one big problem with living off campus is like, what the heck am I gonna eat? Like, is it gonna cost? Because it's really hard to cook for like one or two.
Sometimes. Now here's the thing.
Can you still have a meal plan? Is it better to have a meal plan?
I have found that on the whole, meal plans are not worth what they charge for. And different schools, it's going to be different things. Some schools, have got really banging, options for meal plans and things. But I guarantee you can do it cheaper for one person. And yes, cooking meal by meal for one person, that's hard. So here's what you do. You get a weekend, you cook a big batch of something, you pre-section it off, you get some Ziploc bags, you freeze it. Then you take it out over the next month or so when you want such and such, you pull it out, you nuke it, you got lasagna. Boom, you nuke it, you got chicken and rice. Yeah.
Do you know my sister when she went to ACU, the meal plan that we paid for was like really, really expensive and food was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it was the same thing with Wayland. And my wife even got to the point where, there was one summer where she worked in the dorms while I was off, like, doing some recruiting for college. And they didn't require her to have a meal plan. She just cooked for herself and ate, and she like lost weight and got healthier and stuff. And then when she came back in the fall and they were like, "Oh, you got to get a meal plan," she said, "Well, look here, I've got this thing from my doctor saying that I'm healthier, not eating your crap," and they let her get out of it. They let her not have one that semester.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, seriously.
I swear.
A lot of that is there because I think schools think that it would be a bad thing if some of their students, like, died of malnourishment or something. It would be bad press. People would stop coming there.
Or they just want more money.
And there's definitely that aspect of it. I mean, every place is hurting for money. Colleges are bleeding right now because they've lost so many students because of the student pandemic. So a lot of them, they're going to be desperate to get you in there, but don't believe what they're trying to feed you by saying they have to be the ones to feed you. Okay. Now this last one here, before we move on to the last point I want to make, or is there anything else in this that you've seen that you're like, I hadn't really thought about that, or I don't really think that's a viable option, or anything stand out to anybody? So this brings us to the last little bit here, and on the last page it says number 11, get on a budget. Yeah, because budgets are important. Even if you are not working full-time and bringing in full-time money, there's a certain amount of money that you're going to have access to, whether you've got, parents dropping you a check every week or something like that, or whether you've got, stuff coming in from the side hustle. You're going to need to make that money work for you. And so how many of you in some class at some point along the way, people have said, hey, you need to make a budget? Anybody ever show you how to make one?
I've had my parents
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at just a basic budget plan, and I'm going to kind of talk about what it should realistically look like and talk about kind of, okay, so what percent of your paycheck should realistically be going to different things you spend it on. Look at the second page. It's on the back of the first page, actually. It's this picture here that says Quick Start Budget. Now, glance around at this page and see if there's anything you can think of that you would spend money on that isn't covered in some way, shape, or form on this page. And if you can't find it, I'll see if I can help you find it there. If it's not there, we can add it. We'll figure out what's supposed to go. So what?
Things I don't need, like
You
books.
don't need children.
Oh.
There aren't books.
Look down in personal and look right under childcare.
No children.
What do you see there?
Entertainment.
Books. There you go. Hey, Emily, you like books? Libraries are free.
Not wrong. but I like to have
I understand, but is
Yeah,
that a wander?
my
You know? Okay. Now, is there anything on these lists here as you're looking through it that you're like, I really don't know what that is, Mr. King? Can you tell me about it? Yeah.
What's the thing under adult and clothing?
Adult and clothing, children.
What
That's
are
adorable.
those?
Okay, so some people aren't going to have children. You're probably, hopefully, not going to have children right out of the gate. Some people might want pets. Now, that's an expense, and that's a hassle, and that's a time commitment and a otherwise commitment. But if I know a lot of people who they're, oh Lord, I hate the term fur babies, but that's what some people call them. It's almost as bad as food babies. I can't stand that term. But anyway, look at the stuff on here. So, kind of jumping through these categories, let me tell you about each one and tell you what the recommended percentage is. Now, that's just kind of a target to shoot for. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, depending on your circumstances, depending on your priorities. But here's kind of where these things need to be. Now, in the very first category, we've got charity. Now, charity means giving money to other people. Now, you're thinking, isn't the point of this for me to be saving money for myself? Why am I giving it away? And I will give you an answer and really think about it for a minute. Well, let me ask you this question. What is the overall purpose of money? Why do we want to make money?
To spend it.
Okay, to spend it, but think about what we're spending it on.
Why?
I mean, there's necessities, yes. I need to spend it on a roof over my head, clothes on my back, food in my belly, okay? But anything else that I would spend money on, really, what's the point though?
To not be.
Okay, in 100 years, everyone in this room is going to be dead.
Woo!
Okay, now listen to me.
Well, actually, I might be alive.
Listen to me. In 100 to 150 years, you're dead. And I guarantee you, every luxury, every toy, every book, every collectible, every anything you would spend money on is not going to do you any good after you're dead.
Buried with me, like.
It's not going to do you any good. Stop being a Swisenhomer and listen. Okay? Honestly, the only thing that we ever spend money on that will outlast us is other people. When you invest in the lives of other people, you are investing in something that will outlive you by a long time. Let me give you an instance. Okay, what they're talking about in this in this budget sheet here, that first thing there, it's called tithe. Okay, who's never heard of a tithe? I have no idea what that is. Okay, all right. Tithe comes from an old word. It means tenth. Now this comes from biblical times when it was part of old Jewish law to take a tenth of whatever your income was and give it to the priests, because the priests were not allowed to have jobs, and so they lived basically on money that came from everybody else, and they used that to help keep the temple up, to eat, feed their families, stuff like that. If you happen to be of the church persuasion, then there's a whole lot of reasons why you should be tithing. Okay, I'm not going to get so much into that, but I'm going to just assume that everybody in here is not a church-going person. Is, I'm not going to say heathen, but sure. Okay, let's say that you are non-religious affiliated. It is still good for you to take a percentage of your paycheck and give it to charity and make it the first thing you do. And let me tell you why. One, like I was saying, you are investing in other people who need it more than you. And I guarantee, no matter how far down the ladder you fall, no matter how bottom of the bucket or the gutter you end up in, there's people who are worse off than you. So let's say, I make $2,000 a month. So I divide that by 10, that's 200. So I take $200 right off the top and I give it away. If I belong to a church, maybe I give that all to my church. If I don't, I find a organization that does good for people. I make a donation to the United Way. I make a donation to the Rainbow Room. I make a donation to like hospice needs. Some place where there's people who are worse off than me who will benefit from that. Now, somebody else who doesn't have a pot to piss in, pardon my French, they are helped by this organization, well, that helps them to better themselves. They better themselves, they come up better off than their circumstances would have allowed. Now they're earning income, and then they're giving and helping other people, and it just blossoms. And it blossoms and has repercussions long after you or I will ever use it.
I would definitely say though, like something I've seen a lot recently is just make sure you research what you're giving to,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
it's being used correctly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't be a fool with your money, but yeah, absolutely be sure. You know, and there's lots of ways you can check out. Better Business Bureau, I believe, has got a way that you can check into charities. What?
Not heard about the wonderful company that the Business Bureau gave what was it, an A plus or whatever.
Which one?
The one that apparently was a front for ISIS or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, they
Okay,
made
so-
big ones.
But
What, big ones?
you know, do your research. You know, look around in your community and find out who honestly is helping people, and give them some money every month. If I am a millionaire and you say, "Hey, can I have $10?" I say, "Sure, here." How hard was that for me? If I'm only making like $100 a month and you say, "Hey, can I have $10?" and I give you $10, how much does that mean? That's hard. Guys, it's something called sacrificial giving. And what it does, in addition to just, you know, all the spiritual stuff that I'm not even getting into, it helps you to remember, hey, it is not all about me. Okay, I am part of community. I am part of something bigger than myself. And I'm making an investment in that. Okay, if it doesn't hurt, then, you know, it doesn't mean anything.
It's kind of like scholarships, you know, if you think about it, the people giving away the money are giving away money to invest in the future.
That's a good point, yeah. Okay, so coming down from charity, well, first of all, charity, let's talk about how much. Okay, the suggested percentage is 10 to 15% of your income should go to charity. Now, you're like, I don't know if I can do that. Well, start with 5%. Okay, 5% is not much. Start with something, and then see how it works for you. One of the most enjoyable things that we've ever been able to do whenever we get money in that we didn't know was coming in is turn around and give it to somebody else. It is exceptionally rewarding. Next category, saving. Okay, so you see on the saving thing there's the emergency fund. We started talking about that yesterday. You start it with your $1,000 or whatever, and then you work and try and get like 3 months of expenses covered at least. Well, there's more saving beyond that. I had a student this morning tell me that, you know, in about 4 or 5 months, I think when August or September hits, his family is not going to allow him the use of any of their cars, and they expect him to buy a car. And I said, okay, well, this is a good thing because you have a definite goal and you have a definite timetable to do it in. And I said, are you saving up money? He's like, yeah. And I said, how much? He's like, well, I've got about $2,000 set aside. I'm like, you got a car. You can find a car for $2,000 or less, and it will get you there. It may not get you the honeys, but it'll get you from point A to point B. Okay? But anyway, let's say that he hadn't done that. Let's say he's got 5 months to get a car, and he's found a car that's going to be $1,000 a day. Okay? Well, he's got 5 months to do it. Well, you take 1,000 divided by 5. How much per month does he need to set aside to get that car? 200. So that would be under other for saving. If you've got other stuff that you're going to need to save up for that's a need you know is coming up, that's where it goes. Let's say that your friends in about a year's time are talking about going on like, you know, a summertime drive around the United States or a trip across Europe, and you know it's going to cost you about $1,000. Okay, well you've got 15 months to save for this. You take 1,000 divided by 15. That's how much per month you need to save so you can make that trip happen without going into debt. It's not bad to spend money on yourself for experiences like that. What's bad is borrowing money to do that. Okay. Saving needs to be, again, kind of like charity. It's about 10 to 15% of your income should be going into savings of some kind. Okay. So if y'all are wanting to jot down these percentages, I mean that just gives you some shoot for. Housing. Now some of you, I'm guessing, right off the bat are probably not going to graduate and then the next day you go out and buy a house. Just guessing. I had a question that somebody dropped in my bucket there saying, what is the right age for me to consider buying a house? And the right answer is, there is no right answer or a single age to consider buying a house. Okay? More on that in a second. Oh, that was a missed call. Back when my wife and I, we lived for our first year of marriage. I still had a year of school to go. We lived in married student housing. It was a pit. It was awful. Every time it rained, it would leak on our heads. Second year, we rented a little duplex. It was just a little 2-bedroom thing. I guess maybe they did. This is JC. I do. I will let him in. Bye-bye. This is JC. All right, no problem. Okay, Seth Mitchell, at the end of this period, you're leaving.
You're missing out on the cookies.
All right. Okay, so after 2 years of marriage, we still didn't have any kids. I had graduated college, and we were like, thinking, hey, maybe we gotta get a house. We went and talked to a guy at a loan officer. He approved us for a loan, but before he did, he spent an entire hour trying to talk us out of getting a house. He said, now, I'm gonna make money whenever you take this loan out. So understand that I'm shooting myself in the foot by telling you this, but there are a whole lot of reasons. People will tell you there's good reasons for owning versus renting, but I'll tell you there are a lot of great reasons to rent versus own. Reason number one might be, hey, maybe you still don't know what you want to do with your life or where you want to do it. In that case, renting a house or renting a small apartment or getting some roommates and renting gives you the ability to pick up and move if you need to. If I buy a house and then a year later I'm in a company and they move me somewhere else, now I got to sell that house and I got to buy a new one somewhere where I'm moving to. And when you're having to buy and sell under pressure, you're going to lose it. Okay. Now, having said that, if you do rent somewhere for a while, I highly, highly recommend you look into this right here. You might put a star by that. Renter's insurance. Renter's insurance is cheap. We're talking maybe $15, $20 a month. You pay to an insurance company, and they will cover and protect anything that you've got in your apartment, from fire, flood, theft, you name it. It's definitely worth the investment. But if I'm talking about renting versus buying, let's say that I know that I'm going to be living in a certain place for a long period of time, and I've got the option to either, let's say that I want to rent a house in Border, and I want it to be 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, and I find one that's going to let me rent it for $700 a month and $500 deposit to get it. Okay, well, I lived there for 5 years. I pay my rent on time. At $700 a month for 5 years, how much total am I paying out? 700
42
times 12 times 5. That's 42,000 plus the 500, so 42,500. At the end of 5 years, what do I own of that? Nothing. However, if I buy a house, and you can buy yourself a house and get yourself a mortgage at a fixed rate for, 20 years, 30 years, and your house payment can be, pretty close, $600, $700. And not all of that's going to go toward the cost of the house. A lot of that's going to be taxes, fees, homeowner's insurance, and interest that you're getting charged on the loan. But let's say that out of that 700, let's say that 350 of it is going to be money that is being paid toward the cost of the house. Well, after 5 years, so times 12 times 5, that's $21,000 that I have as something called equity. What that means is I can then sell that house, and I can use the money from the sale of the house to finish paying off the loan, and anything above that, I get to walk away with. Okay, so if I sell it for what I bought it for, I walk away with $21,000 in my pocket that I can then take and put as a down payment on another house. Okay, your home is the single biggest and probably the most important investment you will ever make, because unlike pretty much any other investment, the value of a home is almost guaranteed to stay the same or increase over time. We'll talk more tomorrow. See ya.